Wife plays the victim and accuses husband of being hostile after he discovers the daughter he raised isn't his biological child. Hey guys, welcome back to Alpha Talk. So for today, I'm going to go over a story titled, "My Husband is Being Rude and Hostile to Me and My Daughter," after finding out that she has a different father. And guys, this story, which is coming from the perspective of the wife and mother, is all about how, basically, after 15 years of marriage, it's discovered that her husband is not the father of the daughter, okay? A teenage girl. And as it turns out, when they first got married, like not long after they got married, she was having an affair. So, already you can see the kind of character she is. And basically, her husband is understandably responding to this in a type of way that, if you've been lied to for 15 years and found out that your child wasn't yours, you'd be pretty annoyed, to put that mildly. And she spends the entire story basically playing the victim and making him out to be the root of all evil, not just in terms of how he behaves to her, but also to the daughter. And you're going to see, as I get into it, I don't like the way he ends up behaving and talking to his daughter after he finds out, obviously, the truth. I don't think that's cool. Understandably, he's upset, but I disagree with that. And you're going to see what I'm talking about here. But, with regards to her, he's got every right to be pissed off and be in a bad place for a while. But you're going to see how it's made all about her and her worrying about this and this and this with regards to her. Not worrying about him, not worrying about the daughter. It's crazy. And this really goes to show the old joke about how some women lack complete accountability. It's crazy, right? So I'm going to go into this, guys. You're going to see more of what I'm talking about here. It starts off, "Hi everyone. I'm a 40-year-old woman, married to a 39-year-old man for 15 years. I'll make a long story short. I briefly had an affair during the first few years of our marriage, which was around the time I got pregnant, and until I gave birth, at which point I stopped seeing that person. So, define brief, okay? She kept seeing the dude for a period of time up until the point that she gave birth. That's a long time. It could have been going longer than that. Keep in mind, this story is coming from her perspective. I always had every reason to believe that my daughter was our daughter because the man I dated told me that he was sterile, and he only had one, you know what, down there, due to cancer. The drugs he was on suppressed his sperm count, and I know I made a colossal mistake, but I really just had no idea that I could have been pregnant by him rather than my husband. So, my question is, why wasn't she wearing protection? Why wasn't he wearing protection, right? I mean, he could have told her that just because, obviously, it was more enjoyable without protection. Who the hell knows? But, come on, isn't she worried that she might catch something else? Isn't she concerned that maybe she could pass it on to her husband? But you're going to see here, she's obviously a very selfish individual. It's all about her, obviously, because she's cheating and obviously how she behaves 15 years later. And this goes to show you guys how, generally, people don't change. A leopard doesn't change its spots. A zebra doesn't change its stripes because, excuse me, a zebra doesn't change its stripes because how she is back then and how she is in this story, what she's telling in the story. Before anyone judges me or condemns me, I realize that I was wrong and I highly regret what I did. Just need to get that out of the way. Yeah, nobody's judging you at all, honey. Back to my daughter, she has just hit puberty and having some weird growing pains and body issues as a young woman, and her doctor was struggling to figure out why. The issues she was having are known to be genetic and can stem from the mother or the father's side, except neither of our mothers experienced this genetic syndrome. The doctor ran some tests and confirmed that it is the syndrome/disorder that he expected. It is a blood-related issue. Upon hearing all this, my husband got suspicious and DNA tested my daughter without her or my permission. And she says in parentheses, "Isn't this highly illegal to do this without the consent of the child or parent?" Well, you know what? He is the parent. What's she talking about? He is the parent, and he was obviously very suspicious. But here's the deal. She's obviously writing this after what happened. So she really has no right to start immediately making him be the bad guy. But you can see already, she's painting the picture to make him be the villain here. This is just the beginning. He got the results back and first reviewed them himself before sharing them with me. When he confronted me, he was aggressive and angry and hostile towards me. He berated me and accused me of cheating on him the entire marriage, which I definitely did not.
Hey, the guy has every reason to be pissed off and blow up and all that.
He's got every right. If the situation was reversed and she found out that he was having an affair at the beginning of the marriage, she'd be fired up just as well. Plates would be thrown, yell and scream and all that. I guarantee all her friends would know, and she had every right to be that way. And I might add, She'd also have the right to question whether this was an isolated incident, or this has been going on a long time. During the marriage, before the marriage, of course, you would. I'm gonna keep it fair here, okay? So, he's got every right to question that, because he just found out that his daughter he thought was his isn't his, okay? Anybody would be fired up about that. But again, she's making him the bad guy here. Then, without my permission or agreement, he told my daughter that he is not her father and that she need to find another man to play daddy with because mommy was a whore. That is not cool, in terms of saying that, going to her and saying she'll need to find another man to play daddy. That is not cool. It is not her fault, okay? And I get that he's pissed. I get that he's fired up. But, I'm not a parent. At least I don't think I am. And believe me, I know myself enough to say that even no matter how furious I'd be if I found out something like that in that situation, I wouldn't blame her. I wouldn't make her to be the bad guy, because she's not. Not at all. So, that's not cool in my opinion. Some people may disagree with me, but that's your business. But I say that is not cool. She's a kid. She's the same kid that she was the day before when he thought it was his daughter. How he decides to handle things in the future, that's another ballgame, but just saying that to her, that's just cruel. Now that he has found out that he isn't the father, he's become extremely distant and hostile. Some night she comes down really drunk and passes on the floor near the couch. Some day she doesn't come home at all, or he never was like this at all. Well, again, look what he just found out. And now he's questioning his whole 15 years with her, and obviously the years before that. He's got every right. And in no time have you heard anything about her, basically apologizing, wholeheartedly being sorry about what she did. Not at all. There's nothing in here about mentioning how sorry she was to him and all that. There's nothing in her here about her trying to talk to the daughter and get her to open up and tell her she's sorry as well. Not a peep about that. It's all about her and how she's feeling, how it's impacting her. But it gets crazier. Now listen to this. I'm worried that with his mental state, that he's going to get fired and lose his job, which will then in turn cause us to be thrown out of her home because he can't pay. See? She's not worried about his mental saint. She's not worried about his mental state because for him, because of the guys she married, she's worried about whether he can pay the bills. I wonder why she married him in the first place. What do you think? Why do you think she stayed with him? Because there's nothing here about her working. And why is money so tight after all those years that if he loses a job, that they're going to be thrown out of the house that quickly? I mean, the girl is probably maybe 11 or 12, and I'm going to guess they're probably in their 30s. I would imagine a responsible family would have some money at this point, just in case. Seriously. But it's all about paying the bills and how it's going to impact her and how she's going to look. Why doesn't she have a job? Why isn't she taking action? We're in a world of equality. There's her chance. My entire world is shaking upside down. More about her. And I'm terrified, and on top of dealing with this tragic news, my daughter is now extremely distraught and won't talk to me at all. Of course, she's distraught. And how about you being there for her? How about you there nurturing her, trying to get her help, something? Again, all about her. My relationship with my husband is now irreparable, and my daughter is heading there as well. She's saying that her relationship with her daughter is irreparable. A daughter done to her. Seriously? The daughter has every right to be upset with her. It's amazing to me how selfish and self-centered some people can be. My daughter used to love my husband, the man she thought was her dad, and now she hates his guts ever since he rubbed in her face that he's not her father and never was. Well, I don't blame the daughter for being pissed at him. I mean, think about this. The girl is obviously a teenager, or maybe she's 12. I don't know what. And, her emotions are like a roller coaster, One day high, one day low, just like that. Added to this drama going on, I mean, you can only imagine the way the poor girl feels. And now the mom's not giving a crap about her. She's upset about how the daughter is gonna, her relationship with daughter for her, and saying it's almost irreparable. Good Lord, please. I am desperate, and I can't keep going on like this, and I'm considering just taking my daughter and running from this a whole. If he's not her father, then I can legally run away from him without legal worries, correct? Well, I don't know about that. Any lawyers in the audience, or any lawyers listening, let me know. Also, while the situation is unusual and doesn't fall into the normal spectrum of homelessness and domestic, cases, I would still think that a woman's shelter could help us get back on our feet in the meantime while I figure out what I'm gonna do. Again, where? Why doesn't she have a job? Why isn't she helping out with the bills? Why isn't there any money aside? This is crazy to me. She goes on, And I gotta speak in code here because, YouTube is extremely sensitive to certain things. I realize that he owns a gun, from his dead father. After the way he has verbally been hostile to me and my daughter, I'm wondering if I can call the police to have the removed from our house in the meantime while things cool off. I just don't feel safe with him having access to that. And again, you guys know what I'm talking about here. Now again, more of the victim card. Now, if he's obviously that fired up and so forth, there's some reason for concern, but even still, again, victim, and no accountability. Well, this is crazy. You see what I'm talking about here? So, I'm going to go through a few comments that people have below, which shows I'm not the only one that thinks this. One guy says, "You cheated, you lied, you committed paternity fraud, and he's the a-hole in this story? No man wants to unknowingly invest in another man's offspring. You're wasting his time and his resources raising another's child, and in my humble opinion, you should be charged with fraud and repay him for the past 10 years of his life that he put into you and your child. I don't know why she didn't take a test beforehand. I mean, maybe who knows what she did?" Another guy says, "You have to be the most selfish person I've read about on here. You destroy this man's life, and you are all me. I hope he leaves you soon for his sake." Dead on. Another guy says, "You cheated on him. You got pregnant with another man's baby. You didn't even bother to get a paternity test to ensure it was your husband's. You just assumed. Years went by, and you did nothing. Now you're concerned with his unwillingness to support you. You're worried about his mental state, not because you ruined his life, but because you are afraid you will have access to resources that he provides to you anymore. Your entire world is upside down. What about his? What about your daughter's?" I couldn't say it better myself. And there's plenty of others who are thinking the same way, but seriously. But this is an extreme case of the whole lack of accountability. It's unbelievable. And a lot of women are like this. It's crazy. I'm not saying guys aren't like this, but that stereotype that comes along with the ladies. Well, I'm not going to call her a lady, but you know what I mean. So guys, as I've said before countless times, you're going to do relationships. You're going to get married. You've got to be very careful. And it's crazy the amount of stories that I've gone over, both from online as well as personal stories you guys have sent me along over this last year where situations like this arise, where a child is being raised for a number of years, and for some reason something happens, and it is discovered the child is not theirs. I can't imagine what that would feel like. I have no idea. Like I said, I'm not a parent. I hope I'm not. And it's hard to say what one would do in that situation, how they respond afterward. I know I wouldn't yell at the girl and say what that guy said to her. That I can tell you I would never do. But him being upset is definitely understandable. But anyhow, guys, this is a pretty crazy story, but again, you see my point about the accountability thing? So, anyhow, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this story. Have you ever heard anything crazy like this? Have you known this happened to anybody else? Let me know about. I'd like to hear the story. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.